Let's continue reading about these preparations for the wedding. The troops carried all the bags and boxes across the parking lot to the van. On the way back to the mall, Willa Jean, who spotted the ice cream store that sold 52 flavors, told her uncle she needed an ice cream cone. Uncle Hobart agreed that ice cream cones were needed by all. Inside the busy shop, customers had to take numbers and wait turns. Ramona, responsible for Willa Jean, who could not read, was faced with the embarrassing task of reading aloud the list of 52 flavors, while all the customers listened. Strawberry, German chocolate, vanilla, ginger peachy, red, white, and blueberry, black walnut, Mississippi mud, green bubble gum, baseball nut. Grimly, Ramona read on, skipping pistachio because she wasn't quite sure how to pronounce it, and stumbling over nectarine and macadamia nut. Avocado ice cream? Fudge brownie. She thought Uncle Hobart's number would never come, but of course it did. 5 double scoops of chocolate mandarin orange dipped in nuts was Uncle Hobart's order. Double scoops and with nuts? Beezus and Ramona were impressed. As ice cream cones were handed around and the group walked out into the sun-baked parking lot, Hobart said, "In the heat and dust of Saudi Arabia, I lay on my bunk at night, listening to the wolves howl and longing for chocolate mandarin orange double-scooped ice cream cones dipped in nuts." Ramona licked a drip of ice cream. "I thought you said you dreamed of your mother's apple pie." "Well, that too," said Uncle Hobart. "A man can have more than one dream in his life." "They don't have wolves in Saudi Arabia," said Howie. "Okay, well then listening to camels howl." Hobart led the way to a flower shop in the mall, where they were told they could not enter with ice cream cones. This did not bother Uncle Hobart, who pulled a list from his pocket, stood in the doorway, and ordered 1 bouquet of white flowers for the bride, 3 wreaths of little flowers for girls, here he pointed to the girls, and 2 bridesmaids' bouquets, not too big. "What color?" he asked Beezus, and took a big bite of his ice cream. "Mostly pink to go with our dresses," said Beezus, daintily nibbling into her ice cream cone instead of licking. "Pink," ordered Uncle Hobart, "and a little bunch of flowers for the flower girl. We can't have a flower girl without flowers, can we, Willa Jean?" Willa Jean was too busy trying to keep ahead of her melting ice cream to answer. "And whatever 1 groom, 1 best man, and 2 ushers wear in their buttonholes. Oh yes, and a flower for my ring bearer here." "Aw, Uncle Hobart," grumbled Howie, as his uncle handed over a credit card to the astonished florist and gave the time the flowers were to be delivered to the Quimby's address. Willa Jean's flowers and the men's flowers were to go to the Kemps. "Come on, troops, let's go home," said Uncle Hobart. "Like I told you, there's nothing to planning a wedding." Ramona hoped the dresses really would arrive in time as she licked the ice cream running down her arm. She knew Beezus was wishing the same thing. "Uncle Hobart, I don't think camels howl," said Howie. "I think they sort of snort." Anyone could see that Howie had no interest in this wedding. Beezus, who had managed to eat her cone neatly, asked, "What about the church and minister?" She could not entirely trust Howie's uncle to remember. Uncle Hobart crunched the last bite of his cone. "All taken care of along with the wedding ring and the caterer, who will supply the food. But thanks for keeping me on track. I might forget something." He probably will, thought Ramona, and wished she had a 3-way mirror in her room at home so that when her bridesmaid's dress was delivered, she could watch herself twirling forever. All right, let's start Chapter 8. Chapter 8, The Families Get Together. Life at the Quimby home soon became busy and confused. Mr. Quimby now went to work regularly every morning, but Aunt Bee, to save paying a whole month's rent on an apartment she would leave before the end of the month, had moved in with the Quimbys. She stored most of her belongings in the Quimby's basement, and the rest she piled into Ramona's room to be packed for shipment to Alaska. Ramona slept on the floor in Beezus' room in the sleeping bag Beezus had taken to camp one summer. The telephone rang constantly. Neighbors offering to help with the wedding, people inquiring about Aunt Bee's little sports car that she had advertised for sale, friends returning calls to say yes, they would be delighted to attend the wedding. Teachers at Aunt Bee's school gave her a bridal shower. Most of the gifts were flat and easy to pack: bath towels, cheese boards, placemats. Aunt Bee's class gave her a coffee maker. Boxes piled up in Ramona's room. Willa Jean's old bassinet was moved into the Quimby's house and placed into the parents' bedroom. Neighbors gave Mrs. Quimby a baby shower, which meant more boxes. Beezus and Ramona hoped Algy would stay where he belonged until after the wedding. Their mother seemed to grow bigger every day, or perhaps the maternity clothes she was wearing made her look bigger than she really was. Wedding presents, mostly sets of bath towels, began to arrive. Ramona had never seen such beautiful towels, big, thick, fluffy, and in soft, pretty colors. She stroked them, laid her cheek against them, traced her finger along the designs. They were truly towels to marry for. The Quimby's thin, faded towels had frayed edges. The afternoon before the wedding rehearsal, Grandpa Day was arriving by plane, so he could practice giving the bride away. Aunt Bee, whose car had been sold, borrowed Uncle Hobart's van, and with her nieces drove to the airport to meet her father. Grandpa Day seemed older and thinner than the girls had remembered. He hugged his granddaughters, and they had grown, and announced that he wanted to stay in a motel. No couch in a living room for him with a bunch of women fussing about a wedding. At my age, I need a little peace and quiet, he informed his daughters. Leaving his carry-on bag at the nearest motel, Aunt Bee drove her father to the Quimby's, where more boxes had arrived, none of them containing the bridesmaids' dresses. "You can count on it," said Grandpa Day. "Something always goes wrong when there's a wedding." The sisters exchanged looks of worry. Uncle Hobart walked over to the Quimby's to see the newest wedding presents, loot he called them, and to pick up his van, which he was about to trade in on a four-wheel drive truck for Alaska. A snowplow could even be attached to the front. Mrs. Quimby, looking tired and very big around the middle, was preparing a huge tossed salad, because the two families were getting together before the rehearsal. Beezus was buttering stacks of French bread. Mr. Quimby arrived home late from work because a checker at the market had caught a shoplifter. The police had to be called and questions answered. Even Aunt Bee looked tired. When Uncle Hobart returned, desperate Beezus whispered to him that the bridesmaids' dresses had not been delivered. "We'll see about that," he said, and telephoned the shop, which promised the dresses first thing in the morning. "This evening? You will deliver those dresses this evening," ordered Uncle Hobart, as if he were speaking to a crew in the oil fields. All right, we'll see if that happens, and we'll continue on next time.